came this weekend. Can someone remind me, when am I done? What time? 11:25. So I have an hour to be with you guys. I have a lot of content that we can get through, and I want to get through what you want to get through. So I am a very favorable towards raising of the hands and asking questions. Pause at any time. Just do this, and I'll see you, and we'll just kind of change directions or shift if you have a question about something specific that we're into. But we're in the session called Trending, and I'm going to show you some different things that I think are trending in youth culture. And some of these things, they're not going to be a surprise to you. You're going to see them, and you're going to say, "Oh, maybe I'm hipper and up to date more than I give myself credit for." Let me show you a picture of a young lady in our youth ministry. What is she doing right now? She's texting. Yeah, good. Yeah, she's got her phone, her digital communication tool. Can you tell where she's at? Where is she? She's at a game. She's a college student. Are there a couple people there? There's like a lot of people there. Yeah, that's true. There's probably about 40,000 people around her. This is our new reality. This is the reality we've been living in for a few years, where our students are so tethered to their devices that they have a hard time connecting in person. We're not afraid of relationships. There are a lot of times when our students aren't touching their phones at all, but the second that they feel bored, they just disconnect, and they want to go into their private world. They want to see how many clicks, how many likes, how many comments. I had a young lady. I grabbed her phone, opened up Instagram, took a picture of myself, and wrote "favorite youth pastor." And she saw it. She looked at it. I thought she was going to delete it right away. She goes, "Huh." She turned her phone off and put it in her pocket. And about 5 minutes later, I just wanted to see. I was going to make an awesome comment because it was a picture of me. Obviously, it was going to be an awesome comment. And I couldn't find it. And I said, "Did you delete that already?" You know what her response was? She said, "If it would have gotten enough likes, I would have kept it up." Like, it didn't have 100 likes in the first 5 minutes, so she did not want to spoil her reputation of having a picture in her feed without 100 likes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the place we're living. Here's just a few things that are trending. I'm gonna up front just talk about some things that are trending, and then I'm gonna talk about social media trends. All right. So here's something that we should all be familiar with. You guys familiar with binge watching? Our kids are doing it like crazy. I don't know that it's good or bad. I'm just telling you what's trending. I know some of you are laughing because it's you who has been binge watching. What are you guys binge watching? Anybody? Parks and Rec. Andy is my favorite. Isn't he amazing? Oh my goodness. One of the best characters on TV. You guys binge watching anything else? What's that? Grimm. That's a good show. It's a little sci-fi, I was watching that for a while. Yep. What? Oh, I thought you said fake sriracha. I was like, you can't fake out sriracha. That's too good. It's too good. Yes, Fixer Upper. That's good. Our kids are sitting and binge watching, and while maybe it's just if it's a good show, it's probably not a big deal, right? But I think somewhere there's some implications for that. I don't necessarily know that I would articulate what is good or bad, other than stewardship of time. But this is just our kids are binging. They're binging on Hulu, on Netflix, on Amazon Prime. They're pursuing connection and trying to run and flee from boredom. And so I would say one of the ahas for parents in a culture that's trending towards binge watching would be to find something to binge watch with them. If they're willing to put in the time, maybe the two of you could join in. And maybe the show they're watching isn't bad, but it isn't what you would prefer. Like, this show is weird, or I don't connect with it. I would still encourage you to sit and watch, because that puts you in their world. It helps you understand the world they're living in. and it gives you guys something to talk about. You can debrief and deconstruct some of the things. Maybe even be that weird parent who brings up biblical principles in the story that they're seeing. You know, somebody mentioned that to me a long time ago, and I just couldn't stop seeing Jesus in movies. You know, it's just like culture is mimicking the story of Christ and salvation and the Savior in every single Marvel movie, right? Dive in, see if you can't rub elbows with them while they're binge watching. Here's something else. Our students, they communicate a lot less through words today. They're not using words as much as they're using pictures. I sat with another youth pastor. I couldn't believe it. I wish I could show you my feed. Like during like Game 5 of the World Series, Cubs Indians. So the youth pastor, we had I think a 45-minute text messaging conversation all through emojis and GIFs. And it was just like, it was interesting how I was able to really, like, at the end of that conversation, I was like, all my memory is gone, because I've just used all these GIFs inside of my messages. Yeah? What's a GIF? A GIF, GIF, is a file, it's a picture file that brings motion. So, like, you might snap a picture of yourself, send it, but a lot of kids are sending GIFs, which are visual pictures. Visual pictures, all pictures are visual. Motion pictures. So instead of sending a video, somebody might grab a clip from a TV show, and it's, let me see if I can pull one up real quick. Can anybody describe that better than I just did?
A looped silent movie that's usually a second or two long.
Yes.
Oh, they're photos. Some of them are genuine photos, like they're real movies from real TV shows.
So, last night my wife was having trouble on the internet, and I sent her a picture of Leonardo DiCaprio from Titanic just saying sorry, and he just loops and it just says sorry. So it takes up a lot less space than a video, and then she immediately responded with how she was feeling with all these explosions on the Titanic. So we're communicating, like she's in the same realm, and she's just like, Leo, don't say I'm sorry. I'm going to blow up the Titanic because I'm not feeling good right now with how the internet is treating me. Yeah.
Where did you get that from? How did you just pull that up and send it to me? You have to save it on your phone.
Correct. So these are great questions. This is a question that I wouldn't have put in my notes, but our students have access in Android phones. They can install a keyboard, or in I'm not sure with Android, but I know now with the new iOS device, it's built in that if I go into my keyboard and I can swipe over here to these apps, and right here's all these animated GIFs that are just built into the new iPhone, and I know that Google has recently blocked specific words so that pornography doesn't come up in GIFs. But this is a realm that you might want to know about. Listen, what I know, I think I'm just going to repeat kind of what I said in the past hour. Relationship. Our kids, if they want to do something, they're going to find a way around it. If their friends are doing it, and that line of trust is so important between us and them, and it's on us to also build that trust. So having conversations about the kind of gifts they use, it terrifies me that my 11-year-old is out here. I saw a new background on our computer. I'm like, where did you get that? And he said, well, I went to this website. I said, you know that you're not allowed to search the internet without mom or dad in the room. And he well, mom was in the room, and it's a website that we go on at school. And I'm like, all right, I'm just trying to put guardrails up, and I'm trying not to be the heavy, but it is something to have a conversation with the gifts that are built into our phones. They're built into the Android or the Google keyboard that I installed on my iPhone in addition to just being on the iPhone. Great question. Did you have a question?
I was going to try to find it, but it's okay.
Okay.
Go on. This is all new, but I just see it here.
No, that's good. That's good. I think here we go. I don't know. I don't know if this is, to me, this is trendworthy, but this is an aha. To our students, music is so important. Music is still a hot trend, and I think as moms and dads, it is important for us to know what music they're listening to. At my house, we have a Spotify account. I'm not just buying music for my kids to listen to whenever they want, which saves me a little bit of money, but it's also dangerous because they can search and find almost anything they want in Spotify. But with Spotify, I can see what has been played. It shows me, in even like, what in the world is this song? I wasn't listening to that. I realized that my kids, we have an Amazon Alexa in our living room, and they'll tell her to play music, and then it pops up in my phone in recently played songs. And so I love Spotify because I'm able to create specific playlists for my boys. I'm able to monitor what they're listening to and seeing what they're bringing up in the cues. And I don't know if they figured out a way to do it yet, but I don't see a way to delete that out of my playlists or out of my recent history. So that's kind of good. But our students are listening to that all the time. Like they have an earbud in one ear. Like I have to tell some students, hey, this is Sunday school. Let's I know I'm not the most riveting communicator in the world, but let's take the headphones off and make me feel a little better about myself. So they're listening, they're into it, and I ask, I'm not afraid to pull up, what's trending in America, in the Billboard Top 40, in my Spotify playlist. I don't know that you'll be able to see this real well, but I can go to, where's it at? Browse. I don't have a really good internet connection, but in Spotify, I can browse and find top 50 songs in America, top 50 songs globally. I can go to the Billboard Top 100 and see what's trending. I want to be in that, and I want to listen to that. Some of it is garbage. Some of it is worse than garbage. But I feel like this isn't a justify. I feel like I have to be in there to know where these kids are at, which is different than saying, well, I just watch all these dirty movies to know where the kids are at. It's like, no, I think I can tell a student to not go to a movie, but I want to know what's influencing them 50 times a day as they listen to this song on loop. Yeah?
How is that different from Pandora?
So Pandora is very similar. I'm only a free Pandora subscriber, but somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Pandora is more of a, I like this song, build me your playlist, whereas Spotify is I can listen to this album, this song, I can put this song on repeat. Pandora comes across more as a radio station, whereas Spotify is more of an iTunes store. I can just pick whatever I want.
But you pay for the subscription?
You can pay for Pandora, and then you have a little more control over, skipping songs and listening to specific songs. Yeah?
I was just going to say, with Pandora, it's harder to monitor
Okay.
played, like as far as edited versions or whatever. And my kids are always like, well, we just want to listen to the edited one, not that that makes the song okay. We
Yeah.
have to have those discussions.
Well, what? We're just listening to the beat.
Yeah.
It's not the words.
Yeah. I'm like, that has nothing to do with the message, if those words aren't. But, we'll be in our pool, and the Bluetooth speakers here in the phone is inside the house, and the song comes on, and it's like a mad scramble. We can't do Pandora anymore. Yeah.
Pandora you have a little less control over, and you can't.
Control.
I didn't know that, but that's something good to know too. That you just can't see the listen history. Well, yeah.
But do you pay for Spotify?
You can have a free version of both. Yeah, I think.
Free version comes with a lot of commercial stuff, doesn't it?
Are you able to make playlists in the free version?
I think so.
I think in the on the computer.
There's an app called MusicTube. It is by far my favorite app probably for music. You can make playlists. It's free.
Is it legal?
Same as YouTube, but it's just music videos and
Okay.
just not videos. A lot of it's just the cover of the CD
Yeah.
or the album.
Okay, I'm not going to pounce on you, but I want to pounce on that idea real quick. Like our students are stealing music like crazy, and I just want you to know that that's an issue. That is a tiny root of justification that gets us somewhere else much later. And so while that app might be totally legal because of what it can do, but like, have you heard of BitTorrent?
Yeah.
BitTorrent is a long time ago there was something called Napster. And people who had Napster on all of their computers could share music together. Now, since they've gone under and the lawsuit was Napster was distributing illegal music, now there's this process called BitTorrent. And a BitTorrent is just a piece of software that sits on your computer, and you can search anything and it will pop up and show you. And the reason BitTorrent has been legal is because BitTorrent doesn't house and host any content. It's basically like saying BitTorrent is your car, you know. And while drug trafficking is illegal, you can't sue Ford because somebody put a bunch of drugs in the trunk of a Ford. BitTorrent is the vehicle that you can move legal content through, but people are putting movies and music. And I would ask your sons and daughters, you know, if they're downloading music for free, and if they are, how are they doing it? So I don't know much about that app, but there's, you know, what is it? I can't remember it. Kodi, K-O-D-I, is there's this lady at my church. She's just, and don't anybody admit that they're doing this if you do. So I don't want to make anybody feel awkward, but there's a piece of software called Kodi, K-O-D-I, and you can like hack an Amazon Fire TV and put this KODI software on it, and it gives you access to everything. And they promote it by saying everything is free. And this lady at church, she's telling me to put it on my Amazon Fire. I said, it's illegal. She's like, it's not illegal. It's free. I'm like, it's illegal. Just because it's free doesn't mean it's not illegal. And I said, so is Doctor Strange available? Yeah, you can watch Doctor Strange. That's illegal. If you're not at the movie theater at AMC and you're watching movies, like that is not legal. So our kids want to justify that, and we have access to a world of everything. We have access to everything, whether we know it or not. So that's why it's so important. Instead of trying to lock everything down, this is, and by the way, I know that some parents are struggling way more than others with the content that their kids are watching and listening to and the conversations that they're in. And I don't know how else to say this other than it's a process of trust that is built over time. I am hoping that as a parent, I have laid down guardrails, not handcuffs, not chains, but guardrails for them to navigate what's wise and unwise. Because I don't want to set them free one day and then they just binge everything, not just Netflix. And so, I don't know. I feel like I got off on a tangent a little bit there. So, music is trending. I don't know. How about I think you know this too, but I think Google has been the answer for almost everything. In some households, Google has replaced mom and dad. And if we're not careful and we're not keeping the doors of open communication with our kids, they're going to find the answers they're looking for outside of the home. That is a hot trend. It is the trend. I lost my internet, so sorry.
One of those crazy things you can see, and there'll be, sometimes people collect pictures, screenshots of this, but it's just typing in, like, how do I know when you're trying to figure something out, and the questions that get populated from previous searches from around the internet are like shocking and terrifying and saddening sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. I try to do my best to have frank conversations as age appropriate. I don't always know where those things are. And that's why it's important for me to have conversations with other parents. Like, when did you do this? Like, did you feel like it was too late? You know. And by the way, just because this family did it with their 11-year-old doesn't mean that your 11-year-old is going to be ready for it. But when they are ready for it, they will happily Google it instead of ask mom and dad if they feel threatened by the walls that we're building instead of the guardrails we're placing. And that scares me, just because of all of the content that is available on the web. My senior pastor, we were interviewing guys for a new position at our church, and the number of young men who said at one time in their life, and this is a really strong word, these young men who used the word addicted to pornography was off the charts. And I'm all about redemption. You know, I'm not sin-free. Like, I'm a sinner, and I want people to give me grace. And so I'm talking to my senior pastor saying this isn't a deal breaker, is it? I mean, this candidate, he says he's dealt with it. His wife knows about it. He hasn't been swimming in it. Like, it's, to him, like, obviously something we need to be aware of so that there can be accountability. And I'm like coming to him because we're finding some awesome candidates. And here was his response to me. It was interesting. He said, Brandon, we live in a day where I don't know if we will have candidates who haven't searched for pornography because of how accessible it is. You know, 20 years ago, it was maybe a magazine under Dad's mattress, or maybe a glimpse at the magazine store. Now, there was a young man at our church. He did an internship, and somebody made fun of him because he pulled out his flip phone and he was making a phone call. What are you doing with the flip phone? He said, I'm 25, and I don't need that kind of pressure. And I just thought, wow, what kind of discipline he must have. Now, I'm not saying that's for everybody. I am not against the internet. I am for parents. I am for conversations. I am for guardrails. I am not for walls. I want to trust my boys, but I want to give them a little margin. I don't want to give them the world. And so Googling has been, it's one of those secrets that I don't think we realize. Oh, they're not Googling what is sex. Yeah, they are. You know, not all of them, but they know that Google will come up with an answer, and it's not as awkward as asking mom or dad. I don't really have a piece on this because there's so much out there, but I'm gonna go back there and keep having a conversation with you while I check on some tech. But I want to hear what is it that you guys are using, if anything, to guard your computers. Is anybody using like XXX Church software, Net Nanny, Disney Circle? Tell us about Disney Circle. I know a little bit about it, but how do you use it, and how has it been helpful for you?
It attaches to your Wi-Fi router, so everything that comes through your house goes through it. And you can set all kinds of parameters on, like, you can assign devices to different users. And we can set like basic parameters for content for all of them, and then more specific or even more restricted for others. You can set time. You can set time limits on particular devices. So the hub for it all is on my wife's phone. Like, she can shut down everything at once. Like, if they're not coming to the dinner table, she could power down every Netflix, streaming, texting, everything at one time. But it's all, and you can change anybody who logs in on the Wi-Fi will be subjected to those sort of minimum standards that you set.
It sounds like you've got a tool there that is building some guardrails. Like, I want to give my boys internet access, but I don't want to give them the world. And and I've heard some good things about the Disney Circle. What's something frustrating about it? Is there? It's not the perfect tool, is it? So what's hard about it?
Not too much has been hard about it. Sometimes, I mean, I think there was a CNN politics article that I couldn't get to one time. That was frustrating.
Yeah.
So it's not perfect. I don't know what. I mean, Donald Trump does say some pretty inappropriate things, so maybe that's why it didn't make it through.
It might. There was.
About a month, 6 months, 4 months.
Okay. At my college, it was a Bible college. They had put there were guys who couldn't buy airline tickets because American Airlines had the word alcohol on their webpage, so they had to filter pretty tight. Yes. So maybe there's some filter changes, but that's interesting. I've heard some good things about Circle. How much is it? $99?
Less than that. The Wi-Fi only one is a no monthly fee. I think it was like $70 maybe.
Okay.
There is if you want to apply it to all devices, and that's new. So probably in this next year, I'm going to apply it to the devices even through there. So it partners with your data carrier.
Okay.
Because then right now kids don't have any data.
Yeah.
But they're just Wi-Fi. But that'll change in sometime.
Yeah. Anybody using Covenant Eyes or Net Nanny? Yeah.
We use Covenant Eyes.
Tell me, is that helpful? Is it annoying?
Well, we use Mac computers, and so Covenant Eyes is really rough with Mac computers.
Okay.
A lot of times you have to uninstall and put it back on, and it's just very annoying. So I don't care for that very much, but that's what we have.
I haven't used any filtering softwares, but there is a free service out there called XXX Church, xxxchurch.com, and it is an organization.
I couldn't get to it with my Disney.
You couldn't get to Disney Circle. Said no. Your wife's getting all these emails. What is this? Yeah, it's I don't think it filters things out as much as the XXX Church app has accountability. And like if you and I were buddies, it would send you an email whenever it flagged something instead of blocking me from seeing it. So it builds accountability into that. But I'd like to think the internet would just have a better filter than that. They don't. On your phones? Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna add, as like my kids get older, we just use the ones that are. I have bought some before, but we're just using the ones that come with. We're just setting our own filters. But obviously, the filter was on their friends' phones.
Yeah.
And devices. So,
Yes.
guaranteed, no matter how much I try to experiment, I see, their friends are on their devices when they're older. So I definitely see value in doing something that goes through your Wi-Fi because they'll all just look at the friends' devices.
Yeah.
Sleepovers, all that stuff.
I don't give my Wi-Fi password out to the neighbor kids.
We've talked about that.
But that's good. Then if you have like Disney Circle, then you
Right.
can filter that out.
Right, that was helpful when you did that.
Yeah. I had a student in our ministry who, to his small group leader, said, "I just want to tell you, I've been looking at pornography like crazy, and I just needed to confess it to somebody." And he said, "Thank you. I'll pray for you. We'll walk through this together. I think you need to tell your parents so they can put some protocols on the computer." And he said, we have Covenant Eyes on all our computers. He said, but we don't have it here. And that 20-something-year-old who told me, or who told a friend of mine that he uses a flip phone because he doesn't need that pressure. Like there's just some wisdom in that. But I haven't used this very much, but I'm going to give you the name of a piece of software. It's called MobiCeep, MobiCip, and with an iPhone. I don't know too much about the Android. I've played with the Android. I've just become frustrated with trying to put parental controls on an Android phone. Android phones are much cheaper, and so it's kind of a go-to for teens. My son, we're going to give him for his 12th birthday an iPhone, an old iPhone that we have lying around the house, because I can protect an iPhone. I know how to do that. And through this Moby Seep, for $39 a year. And this isn't an advertisement because I haven't used it. I'm just telling you right now it's the only thing I found, and I'm doing my research. But there's another app called Monitor, and it monitors the Moby Seep app. And in an iPhone, you can turn off so many things. You can restrict so many things. So you can actually pull the browser off the phone. You can pull the privilege of downloading an app off the phone. And so what we'll do is we're going to pull Safari off of the phone we hand to him, and we're going to install Moby Seep. And you can't, without a code, he can't delete that. And if he wants to use the internet, that's going to be his only window. And through the Monitor app, I can see everything he monitors, and I can lock off certain filters. And so this is a trial test for me to kind of jump into this with my kid. But I've heard other parents use it. Mobicip. Moby Seep. So there's a monitoring app. So if you type in Moby Seep, I think they'll both come up. And then you can pay for the $39, and I think that's $39 a year, which it's unfortunate that that's not just a free service Apple has, but it's not bad. How much is Covenant Eyes?
$15 a month.
Yeah. So $150, $180 a year. Yeah. Kids live on their phones. Here's another trending topic. I've got some pictures up here. You guys know what these are? Snapchat. What do you know other than Snapchat? Somebody else say some more names. These are hot apps that are all over our kids' phones. The Tiger one is one of the worst ones. The Tiger one, I forget the name of it right now, but it's an app that is a social network for individual schools. So let me tell you about that. I went into the App Store. I heard about this, and I downloaded it. And oh my goodness, it's like Facebook for a specific school, and I wanted to see what kids were doing out there. And it wouldn't let me create a membership because it says I'm not 15 or 16 or 17 or 18. And so I went back into my settings and I changed myself to a 16-year-old because I wanted to check this app out. And then it said, "What school do you go to?" I'm like, now I got to lie about that too. So in there, and I just said which school I was from. And then it let me log in. And it was fine. But some of the graphics of the company, like their logo isn't just a tiger head. When it pops up on your phone, it's a tiger head and a woman in a very small bikini. And once I get in there, then it's just kind of like Facebook. And you can, now listen, anonymously post anything you want, as long as you go to that school and you are that specific age. And so I was like, I'm going to see. There was one for the Christian school in town too, so I wanted to see what the Christian school was doing on their board. So I logged out, changed my school, and then the app kicked me out forever because it saw me trying to get into different schools. So now I can't get in to where if my son or daughter was 15 on that app, I have no parental license at all. That terrifies me.
Okay, so I'm having an anxiety attack listening to all of this. I'm serious.
Yes.
This is not happening any of this crap myself. So I am very much against this trend of our culture.
Yeah.
That my instinct is to walk away. But I feel like
You're asking the question that I always hope that a parent never asks.
What?
Because the answer is so hard. Because if we lock our phones down and they really want it, they're gonna manipulate their way into getting it. Not all of them. Some will just resent. Very few will be okay with it. We can walk with instead of walk away. I think my encouragement is to walk with, but to walk with in venues. You know, so Snapchat. My goodness, like it is such a huge youth ministry tool. Like it is. The implications for how we can use it in youth ministry are great. I let all my leaders use Snapchat for the story portion. But we have a policy that leaders are never allowed to send a message to a student via Snapchat because the private nature of it. But our students are hanging out there, so I feel like we have to be out there. Instagram. You know, I know parents who will say, all right, we're going to give you, because you met these goals, because you did this for your grades, because you've met this requirement at an age, we're going to let you choose social media to hang out on. They don't need them all. I think my point in here is that we need to be aware of some of the things that are out there so that we can talk to our sons and daughters about these things. Because I know so many kids, these things are hiding on their phone. And I don't, for those of you who might feel in a similar manner, like this is overwhelming, it stresses me out, and basically all you're doing is scaring me because you're telling me about what exists without telling me how to fix it. And when kids want to lie to us, when they want to hide stuff from us, it's hard to fix that. And it really comes down to relationship. So, parent groups, conversations with other moms and dads, knowing the peer groups that our kids hang out with have a ton of influence on the kind of stuff that they're willing to do and not do. And I hope that my boys, they see this and they go, you know what? That's not for me. I need to not be out there. We were all teens once. There were things we did without our parents knowing. Not you?
Oldest child.
Do you have something to add to this?
I was kind of thinking, a wall versus a fence. And I see that kind of as this, like, if we say we don't want to know about it, we don't want our kids on it at all, we're just creating a wall that as soon as there's a door, they're gone. And I see the world as a completely different place for my 10-year-old than it was for my 31-year-old.
Yeah.
When it comes to this. And this is very scary, but I don't want him to go into that scary world alone. And I feel so, like, I didn't know what none of those pictures were. And he's not there yet, but he has access to the internet. In fact, through homeschooling, I'm sending him to the internet all the time. Let's go look up that answer.
Yeah.
And I am concerned about all the, he starts typing it in everything that comes up. I can't just tell him now to go, let's go find a, documentary on that. You have to watch so carefully. So I would really appreciate a little bit more information, and I don't know where you're going through this whole process, but really, how can we, you said that you can monitor and you can look back, but some of us just are not tech oriented.
Yeah.
How can we do that? Or how can we get more information to monitor our kids and to know where they might be going or really where to steer them away from?
So this isn't the advice that you're looking for. And I'm inviting other people into this conversation right now. Okay. My hope is that I'm being the parent that my kids need to be, and I know that we're gonna have. I have godly pastoral friends whose kids have strayed, and so it's it's not a failure as a parent all the time as much as the decisions our kids make. But we can't control our kids. We can only influence our kids. And it's that influence that I want to leverage in their life on a daily basis, that when they go into making a decision, I want them to first want to please God, and second want to please their parents before they want to please their friends. Dad, everybody, by the way, that Tiger is called After School is the name of that app. After School. And I'm hoping that as I give him freedoms in some areas, he understands the danger of freedom in other areas. Which, when they're a kid, and I'm going to share some ages in our final session, but there's a point where we get to control our kids to the point where we have to only rely on influence in our kids. And, I'm a social media guy. I write technology columns and blogs for youth ministry magazines, and I just want you to know that you can't get hung up on the what. You gotta get invested in the why, because there's always going to be a new what. What app's there? What app's there? But why? Why should we use it? Why shouldn't we use it? And we want to build into it, because I don't even know all the social media apps. Let me give you a quick tip. Here's a parental tip, and it's not flawless, but I will go into the App Store, and I will go to top of the charts, and I'll come in here and pick the category social networking, just so I can see what's hot and what's trending. Because I do want to know when the next Snapchat comes out. I do want to know when the next calculator percentage comes out. Have you heard of calculator percentage? It's not as hot as it was a year ago, but it was an app that looked like a calculator that when you typed in a secret password, it opened up a vault of photos. And there's several instances you can find in USA Today of like football teams and schools hiding, pictures in there that they shouldn't have. And this isn't me trying to scare you as much as it's you need to be aware so that you know how to lead our kids, because we're not gonna master all the social medias. We're just not. It's life principles and great decisions that we're hoping to teach our kids to make. Yeah.
So our daughter's going to be 13 in January, and we haven't unlocked where she can get into internet or anything like that. But a lot of her friends already have the technology. So what I found, like even being at youth group with them, is when the phones are out, I'll just go over and be like, oh, what's that? And they're so eager to tell you and like show you. And like, this is what we do. And then that opens the discussion for if something's there that's like really, well, what do you think about that? Like, do you really think that that was a good idea? And just kind of let them, like you said, almost like I do with my girls with the television. Like talking about what's good about it, what's not good about it, what we as Christians and speaking life into each other, is this a good way to talk about or to do, or how we use the technology?
I would say
usually very eager to share new apps with you, at least in my, with the girls. Like they'll come, in fact I had one just come and show me something that was medically related that she's using as an app for something personal that she wanted to talk to me about. So I found that if you're open and you ask, like a lot of times they'll share what's new and what they're doing with you, and to me it would be a flag if they didn't want to.
so. I think we're not going to solve what you're struggling with, but maybe this is helpful. I think trying to understand all the social media apps and assuming the worst is what we don't want to do. We want to help our kids make great decisions and walk through them with it. So if we can build into our young men and women a relationship where they ask, well, let's look at that. Let's look at Snapchat. Why would you want to use that? Well, all my friends are on it. Well, I'm not ready for that. I don't think you are either, because of the private nature of that. So, let's just use instant messaging, which is free and already on your phone. You can send back and forth. Or you want a social media account? Let's open up these doors and these avenues. I mean, like I do periodically feel the pressure of the world leaning into my kids, and I can let it paralyze me, or I can train them to deal with it. And I have to rely on God to help me deal with it, because, like, I'm not going to be able to navigate all of this on my own.
Right, I guess it's not a problem, or I don't feel like this is something for me to fix. Like, I just have, I'm completely okay without it.
Yeah.
And
It's just important to know. I don't think you need to become a social media expert, but just be ready to answer questions when they're asked. I'm not. I don't. This is my opinion. This is not biblical principle. It's not the church's opinion. Being a youth pastor and being in the tech world like I am, I don't think living without it is the answer. It can be an answer, but we're so immersed in it. It's like I can hardly believe that guy is able to use a flip phone to get life done with. And then I realize, oh yeah, this is a phone too. I barely use it as a phone, but
But there's 6-year-olds walking around with iPhones that are showing things to older kids that, like, we've chosen not to go down that road yet. We're just starting to step into that with our daughter. But she has access, and she sees, because she goes to school and her friends have. She goes to youth group and her friends have. So they're still going to encounter it, so we still have to discuss it. We still have to talk about it, even though we've chosen not to allow that for her yet, because we don't feel she's ready.
yeah.
Okay, so I don't know what all those are other than the ghost, but I took a picture of it.
Okay.
So when I go home and, my son's 14, my daughter's 12. So when I go home and look at their devices and see one of those little graphics, what should come out of my mouth
Hey,
so that
what
the
is?
top of my head doesn't, you know what I'm saying? I want to panic when I pick up their device. I love my kid.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm more worried about my daughter's device than my son's. But if I see something that I now have a heads up,
Yeah.
what?
And by the way, I don't think that all of these are bad. They're just avenues that lack accountability. Snapchat is amazing, and while at the same time, it's awful. It depends on the user.
I the kids I'm out on this, I do that, but
I would just ask them, what are you using it for? Help me understand what's the name of this? Oh, the name of that's After School. Let's look at this together. After School. Let me look it up in the App Store and see what they define it as. And like, oh, whoa, what is, how is this helpful? How are you using this? Maybe that's an app I'm not comfortable with you having. I don't know. I don't know when I'll release downloading whatever they want to them, but that's going to be a huge process for my wife and I to figure out what freedoms to give them and when to give them those freedoms. Yeah.
I'm a public school teacher, and over the last 10 years in this area, in the Rockland Public Schools, last year, because of budgetary reasons, they did switch to bring your own device. Any child at any age can bring any device in order to learn. As an instructor, I'm expected to leave these with devices, which creates a whole nother catastrophic problem because there's Android versus Apple. It increases the amount of time I spend working,
Yeah.
which is part of the problem. The Chromebooks are also being utilized more and more and more.
Uh-huh.
So, like, just so you guys know in general, because I know not all of you have kids in the public school, there are kids in our community that are regularly expected to, because the whole idea is when they get out in the real world, your job is no longer going to be isolated to what it has been in the past. My own job as a teacher has drastically changed, shifted over 10 years' time. So these kids are going to be expected to have a smartphone as an adult and use it. So if we're not getting them ready, then I think he has a good point. We have a problem with their workforce later down the line. But it's hard because they're so young. You know what I mean? So I think even neurologically, I'm in agreement with Carrie. Like, there's things going on neurologically at young ages that this is disrupting that process.
It's a huge disruption. The media that our kids are exposed to, and again, here's another not helpful comment, but just something that we need to be aware of. Like, our young people are being forced to mature faster than they're ready for. They're being exposed to things that they shouldn't be, and that not only are they not ready for, but they're just not good for any of us. And here, let me give you a few guardrails. By the way, I just looked up the after school app, and some wildly inappropriate pictures come up, even in their preview picture. So cautious as you go out there. But it's an app only for teens, so it's only for teens, though, right? Here's some guardrails. What works? I know what works for one family. It's not going to necessarily work for everyone. And I know some teens are more naturally drawn to engage in risky behaviors, and others just naturally stay clear. So these hopefully are some basic tips that will apply to everybody here in the room. Number one, I would encourage you to know that the sites and the apps that your teens are engaging in. And when you hear those, I want you to anticipate the risk. I don't want you to assume the worst, because you know your kids, you know what they're going to do, but you want to coach them. You want to anticipate some of the troubles. Be in your teens' group of friends or followers. I've had so many parents over the years who say, my kid won't accept my Facebook request. I'm like, well, then take their Facebook away. Take their phone away. Take their computer away. Like, they don't get to tell you no. It's your internet. It's you're probably, even if you're not paying for that cell phone bill, if you made the agreement that if you want a cell phone, you have to pay for it yourself, they're not 18. They live under your roof. You get to follow them. And by the way, here's another terrifying thing that I just feel like I'm dumping all kinds of terrifying things. Have you guys heard of Finstagram? So have you heard of raise your hand if you heard of Instagram. Yeah, Instagram. And keep your hands up for Finstagram. Okay, Finstagram is just changing that first letter, adding an F, and it just means fake Instagram. So I know those kids who are more edgy and into defiant behavior, they will have their plastic, coached presentation of themselves, and then they'll have, not all of them, but I just want you to be aware that there are Instagram accounts that they want their friends to see, and that they're so it's important for you to navigate with them. It's important for you to be in their friend group. You can see what's being posted. You can help them navigate what's appropriate, what's not appropriate.
How do we know if our kids don't have 2 or 3 accounts?
I'm just telling you what is out there. Like, it's as scary as it is to know and not know how to navigate it. It's better to know and maybe have a conversation. It's kind of like, this week my wife and I found out that she has some identity theft. Somebody stole her identity. That terrifies me, but it cannot paralyze me. We go to the police, and what do the police say? Here, we'll fill out this report. All right, I need that report to prove that my identity was stolen. The police charged me money so that we could have a copy of the report. Okay, so I get it. But it's just like this process of being. It's not something that's going to keep us from doing life, though. We're not going to stop, shopping. We're not going to stop paying our mortgage. But it's important for us to know that identity theft is a real thing. We're living with identity theft, and now we have to navigate that. And I don't know who did it. I want to find out who. Does that make sense? I know, here's what I know. As we talk about things that are trending, there's not an easy answer for any of what we're talking about. Relationship with our teens and building trust with our kids as they grow up that's the influence that we're looking for. Yeah.
I was just going to say the same thing, relationship. You started off the day by talking about finding things that we like to watch with them, finding things that we like to do with them.
Yeah.
Snapchat was one of the things that I had to learn how to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, I gained access to their world. And I think it's about relationship and access. And we can't worry about what they're going to be doing and not doing. We just have to be a part of their lives. It's the same thing as within any relationship. But our kids even more so because there are things that we have control over. So while there are some horrifying things out there, it's important that we're there with them. Because at 7, 8, 9, they're not ready for it. But we have them at the whole spectrum. So at 15, 16, and 17, they're in and around that, whether or not we give them access on their phone, because all of their friends have it. So they're in and around it. So it's better to be in and around it with them and guiding them through that and building the relationship so we know how they're coping with it. And are we going to know everything? Well, did your parents know everything? No.
Yeah.
But if we have a better relationship with them, there'll be more that we know than we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just keep thinking about verse Ecclesiastes, like there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
And like to think of what Solomon would say to us if he could be here with us. Like, could he still say that? Like the internet,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing new under the sun. This is something that man has created, but
Yep.
yet you can still think of it that way. And I think what I'm struggling with as a new mom of a 2-year-old and working with youth is fear. Like I kind of feel that here in this room too, that there's a lot of fear. And that's not how the Lord wants us to operate.
Right.
And I think that there's a benefit of just seeing that like this all goes back to the root of the heart of man. And that it's not a new thing, really. God knew this was going to happen. God knew all these apps were going to be created. This is not taking him by surprise. And I think for us as parents and youth workers, like it's really important for us to examine our own hearts and our own fears and realize that we are, like you're saying, we're not in control. But we can do character building in ourselves and then in our children. But this is not, God knows that this is happening and he can walk alongside of us.
It's true. It's the same old sin in a new package, and we think it's just more accessible than it was. And you know what? There was a time in the Old Testament where sex with prostitutes was a part of religious ceremony. I mean, it was all over the place. It's not like it's more absurd now. It's just we're now the parents. We're not the kids anymore. Yeah.
I was thinking about the same things too. I want to teach my kids not to fear their devices either.
Yeah.
This is just a tool. It is part of their life, but I definitely want them to learn how to use it while they're still in my home. That doesn't mean I'm going to give them each their own. I'm not, putting
Right.
out what everybody should do. But regardless, I definitely want to live with them, focusing on our relationship, not focusing on the device, and not making this more important. Everything comes back to this. This is just a tool, just like I want to teach them to use money wisely, and etc. But also, as far as the apps and stuff, I just wanted to add something that we use. I'm not saying it's right, it's just something we use. Is that sometimes, there's big discussions too, and I want to continue to have discussions with my kids about what they're doing on social media. But often, it'll simply come down to you may not have a private life that I don't know about. Just like here in front of me, you're not living a private life when you're 12. And you can't have a private life on here. So even just as far as knowing what kind of apps they're on, of course we talk through all sorts of reasons, but the ones that are private basically, you can't have a private life, you can't be having conversations we don't know about. It doesn't mean I'm always reading everything they write.
Yeah.
But just as far as setting those guardrails here, there's access to you setting up a completely different life online. That's just not an option. And we talk about the dangers of that. We need to walk through life with you. You don't get to just have a separate life online that we don't get to walk through life with.
I'm going to wrap up with this last question because we're over time a little bit. Go ahead.
Well, one of the things that I started a little bit to counsel our oldest on, when you talk about having a private life, really, as much as you may be trying to hide something from your parents, once you put it out on social media, it's out there. And one of the reasons that they are driven to have separate accounts, and this is even high school or people in college or whose parents don't even care what they're doing anymore, they're making separate accounts because employers will dig into that. It's so easy to go after people. Every year we interview dozens of people for new residency spots in the emergency department, and that's like a great way to find out tons about people that they do not say they don't say anything about in their interview. And so you need to guard what you put out there about yourself, because it's far less private than you think it is. Even if you can hide it from your parents.
100%.
Because they don't know what
I know guys, when they're looking for jobs, and whether this is good or bad, they shut down their Facebook. They just want to close off their digital footprint, not because of them feeling bad about themselves, but because other people say things and do things, and I think that's wise to acknowledge that. Let me throw this out real quick. Set limits. This may include allowing apps and disallowing apps, time on media. You mentioned a lot of this. I love that you mentioned those things about Disney Circle and the different things you can do inside of that. I think we do that with our apps. I think we can do that with curfews. I think we do that with time zones. We need to have conversations with our kids. Like, not just put the foot down. Like, let's have a conversation. I want them to understand why. Another thing, establish consequences. This is so important. Ahead of time. Your kids can't go out and just open up a Snapchat or an Instagram account and then you take away their phone for 30 days. Like, they need to know ahead of time that, hey, if you open up a social media account without me knowing, I'm going to take your phone away for 15 days or a week or 30 days. Consequences ahead of time, and don't let them stray outside of those limits. And don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to turn it off. Don't be afraid to cut off access. I don't think a life without social media or cell phones is the answer, but don't be afraid to go through dry seasons. And you know what? My house, we're not perfect. More is probably better. Maybe less is better for other families. But we have no Tech Tuesday in our house. And it's more work for my wife. No screens, no iPads, no TV, anything with a battery except for a watch. That's done. Tuesdays, they're harder for her, they're harder for me. The boys, they go a little nuts, but it draws us together, and it's an intentional time of just putting it down. Guys, thanks so much for sitting here with us for this hour. You guys have a great rest of your Saturday.